Okay, what's up, everybody? Joseph coming your way. It's been a while since I've done a bowling related video, and I want to really cover this because I spent a good 2 months actually coming up with this kind of presentation, as well as the other one that's going to come after this. The one that comes after this is actually what I spent most of my time on. But, anyways, so yeah, now the season's like pretty much underway. We're halfway through the first half already. Holy shit. Of bowling season. And the reason I made this video is because um, there are two types of bowlers, okay? Or actually, there are three. You've got casuals who don't really care about making money in this sport. They just kind of do it, just gets them out of the house, that kind of stuff. Gets them out of the house, gets them to hang out with their buddies, whatever, that kind of stuff. And I think that's all of us really when it comes to the sport of bowling is like I'm in the second category as I'm gonna talk about in a few seconds. But I think all of us as bowlers, we do this just to establish communities within each other. You know what I mean? In case you need something, you can go to your bowling buddies, right? That kind of stuff. And I think that's all of us. But there are certain types of bowlers who do that only for that. They don't want to really care. They don't care about making money in the sport. Maybe they'll do some brackets at league or something like that, or maybe they'll go to a tournament. Like one of those a team singles doubles tournament, just with their buddies. You know what I mean? Just really not. They don't really care about cashing in the places they bowl at. Then we got the second. Let me put my face cam up here. Then we got the second category of bowling, which is bowlers who are. Oh, that's too much. There we go. A little better. Yeah, that's actually really good. Second category, this is my category. These are bowlers who they bowl in more handicap tournaments than scratch tournaments, and they're very interested in making money. They're very interested in prize funds. Uh, they bowl brackets a lot. They bowl high game pot a lot. Lots of side stuff. Maybe some action after league if your center is open that late. Maybe even some action before league or over the weekend, something like that. Those are the second types. And the third type of bowler are these are pros. These are guys or women or any gender or whatever. These are people who they bowl, they put in money and they expect to get money out in bowling. These are people who they travel. They go to scratch tournaments, most of them, and they need to do certain things in order to reliably make money bowling. And a lot of bowlers who I think watch bowling on YouTube, bowling content creators on YouTube, are in that second category. Okay, these are individuals who they know that they want to make money next time they bowl, but they maybe don't do that because of a whole bunch of factors. Maybe they need some coaching. Maybe they're not. Sorry, I'm like. Maybe they don't shoot high enough. Whatever. Maybe their average is too high. And from what I've seen with everyone who I bowl with, is that a lot of cases, average is too high. Okay, brings me to this topic right here: advantage bowling. What is advantage bowling, and how do we do it? Okay, all right. So there's a few questions. Now, if you play poker, do you ever play every hand you get? Like, do you play all the way until the river every time? If you did that, you would lose money real fast. You'd lose your whole buy-in in like 3 games if you did that. Like you'd lose it all. You'd lose your entire bankroll in like maybe 2 or 3 games, because other players would catch on to that. They would make you go all in every game because you'd be a really easy mark for them. If you have like a 2 and 7 in your pocket and the flop hasn't come in yet, that hand folds every time. Everything offsuit. If you have low cards offsuit, those fold every time, right? Okay. So yeah, if you played every hand you got in poker, you'd lose money. And pro poker players, They fold about 85-90% of their hands in the pocket before the flop. They do this for a reason because they play to increase their expected value, right? That's the same with blackjack, right? Do you go with your gut feeling when you make decisions in that game, or do you bet the same amount of money every hand? If you do that, the house would get a massive edge to the point where you'd rather play a slot machine. It'd be more profitable to play a slot machine than to go with your heart in blackjack, right? And do that. So no, no, whatever. There's no word on my phone. Yeah. So yeah, if you do that, it gives you the house a massive edge. Everyone has to have a strategy, and dealers will even tell you basic strategy decisions if you ask them. They're trained to do that. So, yeah, pro blackjack players, they know when to bet a lot, they know when to bet a little, right? They count cards, they track aces, they track the shuffle if they know how to do it, that kind of stuff. And so if there's advantage playing in blackjack, and if there's an advantage play in poker, and maybe even some slot machines, you could even argue with that with slot machines, and that's what makes it a profitable hobby for them, right? And you can do the same with bowling, and you should do the same with bowling if you're not interested in being playing in bowling at an elite level. Then you need to understand that advantage bowling is the only way you're not going to lose money when you bowl. Okay? Okay, here we go. Handicap bowling operates just like poker, just like blackjack. Okay? If you go into league every night and you want to shoot an honor score every night, 270 plus games, 800 plus series, and if you don't want to compete at an elite, strictly scratch bowler level, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. Again, that's like never folding in poker. That's like never folding in poker unless your bankroll is like ridiculously high. You know what I mean? If you have a bankroll that's like bigger than like everyone on the table in poker, you could actually psych some players out by staying in every hand because you would be able to just put everyone all in. If your bankroll is like 3 million, everyone else has let's say 10% of that. Okay, well you can afford to keep every hand you get, even if it's an offsuit, if it's two cards offsuit, two low cards offsuit, because you're gonna put everyone you're gonna put everyone all in anyways. It's just like if you can reliably shoot over 250 every game in bowling, and you can do that every time. Yeah, I'd want to average 250, because I know that no matter how much handicap someone gets, I'm just gonna be able to beat them. However, if you bowl in more handicapped events than scratch events, and almost everybody, I'll put money on that, is that at least 95% of anyone who watches bowling content on YouTube, they bowl in more handicap events than scratch ones. They do. Why is that? Because the ones who bowl in more scratch events than handicap ones, they don't have time to waste watching stuff on YouTube. No, they're watching their own game. They're watching footage of tournaments that they bowled in and what they can do to improve and what they can do to make the cut number or to make match play in the last tournament they were at if they didn't make match play or if they didn't make the cut, that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you bowl in more handicap events than scratch events, leagues, tournaments, whatever, then you need to know how to get the most handicap while still maintaining an average that also lets you into scratch events if you're interested in that, which is usually about 200 or so average. It's usually 200 plus nowadays. Back in the day, not so much. Back in the day, yeah, you had to average 220, but whatever. And let me say this as a quick warning, real quick. If you struggle to average over 205, then advantage bowling is not for you, or it's up to your own principles. Okay. If 205 is the best average, if you look at a 205 average and you're like, oh my god, or if you average 205 like last year, and you're like, okay, I want to average that again this year, and you're like really trying to do it, yeah, you want to stay where you're at, because you probably you probably aren't your game isn't optimized enough to go above 205. Handicap. Advantage bowling is for bowlers who know they can average well over 205 and still want to bowl in handicap events. If you're struggling to average 205, don't even think about advantage bowling, because you already have an advantage pretty much. And I'll show that in the next video about this. Okay. Now, a lot of you thinking, going into this video right now, as at least 10 minutes have passed, saying, what's the difference between that and sandbagging? You're talking about sandbagging. No. There's a big difference. There's a difference between advantage bowling and sandbagging. Okay? Let's go back to the poker and blackjack examples. Back in the day, actually with blackjack, it was possible to cheat at blackjack. It really was. It was possible. They had little devices that showed what the dealer's up card was, what was left in the deck, what you were about to get, if you hit, that kind of stuff. And so that was used for a while, very rare occasions, where you could actually cheat at blackjack doing that. It's the same thing with poker, too. So I'd compare that to sandbagging and bowling, okay? There are a couple of examples of sandbagging that I've seen in my bowling career. So the first is where someone will average like 165 for the whole first half of league, and then averaging 205 plus during the second half to arrive at whatever average they want to end up at the end of the year. Usually about 185, 190. I've seen this a lot. And the reason they do that is because just to get bracket money, because they know that their leagues aren't paying out the way they should. I don't really think leagues should pay out anything at all. But it's just me. I think it should only be used just to make scores count for USBC, and that's it. Have everything else be side. That'd be really cool. But whatever. It's not my place. So I've seen bowlers do that. I've actually personally known a couple of bowlers who've done that. Not me. I will never ever do that, because my principles wouldn't never allow that, that kind of stuff. So whatever. Yeah. And I've also seen an example where bowlers will average 185 in the league, and then they just run a 185 average, okay, or somewhere in that ballpark. And then during tournaments, during their singles, doubles, teams tournaments, it's usually ones they go to. They don't go to sweepers. They don't go to anything on a sport shot or anything like that. They definitely don't go to any scratch stuff. And then then they shoot their 700, then they shoot their honor scores all over the place. And they have 57 pins of handicap. Those aren't acceptable. My principles would never accept that. My principles would never allow me to do something like that. Ever. Never. And honestly, neither of those are really advantage bowling if you think about it, because none of those examples do what advantage bowling intends to do, which is to yield a 205 plus average at the end of the year. That's the goal in advantage bowling. Is to hover around 205 and knowing that you can average at least 220. Okay? Yeah, it's like I said. At the end of the day, this all depends on your principles. If you want to bowl both scratch and handicap stuff, then don't sandbag. Just bowl. And if you struggle to average 205, or if your highest average ever was 205, my highest average ever I think was 212 or 219. So that's with me. Advantage bowling, by the way. And yeah, if you want to both scratch and handicap stuff, and you and you find running a 205 average like kind of difficult, then stay with your little 190, 180 something, and just occasionally shoot your honor score whenever you can. You know what I mean? Don't be like, okay, well let me average 165 so I can. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Also, that's exactly why advantage bowling is it's for 205 plus average bowlers only. If you know you can average well above 205, 215, 220, 225, 230, then just hover around 205. That's plenty. That gets you into PBA stuff nowadays. That gets you into whatever you need. You don't need to run an average any higher than that. And let's go ahead and let's address that question. Is there a reason to average higher than 205? The short answer is no. Given that the industry standard per se of handicaps is still 90% of 220. Some of them it's 90% of 230. Uh, Maybe some rare tournaments and leagues will set it at 90% of 240. In those cases, yeah, if you're averaging 220 and your handicap's 90% of 240, well, yeah, you're getting some sticks, but also the other bowlers who are way worse than you, they're getting way more than you could ever keep up with. And I'll explain how that is in the next video, which is going to be way longer presentation. Okay? So the short answer is no. You're not going to get the handicap you need if you average higher than 205 in any situation, in the majority of situations. And the long answer is that events that demand that their bowlers average at least 205 are really few and far between, especially leagues. Scratch leagues, good luck finding one. I haven't encountered a scratch league since 2014. Okay? 8 years it's been since, and it was a small 3-man league in a 12-lane house. So it was extremely small. A tiny, tiny, tiny scratch league, on challenge shots. So it wasn't even like you couldn't even, it was difficult to shoot honor scores in most cases, that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, so that they're few and far between. You get your little high average reward, okay, if you're interested in that, which is what? How much is an individual high average award in your league? Would it ever make sense to win that, to run that real high average for the money? Even if I said, oh, okay, the high average gets $1,000, and your league is what, $30 a week. I mean, okay, that's cool if you want to aim for that. I mean, I wouldn't, because then you won't have any handicap if your little 240 average wins high average for the team, for the tournament, for the season league, that kind of stuff. So and additionally, like I said earlier, the only thing you need to join the PBA is a 200 plus average across 36 games. That's as of 22-23. Don't know if it's going to change. Might go higher, might go lower. That'd be hilarious and stupid, but ever. Also, it's like I said, prizes for honor scores and other stuff that's associated with those high averages, they're on the way out. The biggest money league that I've bowled in the last like 5 or so years, they don't have individual awards at all, and they should never existed. Because again, if we replace that with side stuff or with a higher prize fund for the team, then why would you need that? Or even an optional singles league, which is what that league that I was just talking about a few seconds ago, that's what they do. You know what I mean? And it's like I also said, if you get an individual award for high average, that doesn't get you the prize money that's worth the effort. It really doesn't. No, it really isn't. And again, this one's really important, and J.R. Raymond talked about this a lot, and I'm very glad that he did. Handicap leagues that take place on a house shot, those were in the past, currently are, and forever will be for casuals by casuals. Okay? That's indefensible. And it's always going to be that way. But Darren Tang does footage of him at league. Yeah, he's one PBA bowler across how many hundreds who bowl in that house, who are not a PBA national player, who have not won several PB or a couple of PBA titles. Of all the pro bowlers I've seen in my leagues, I've bowled with exactly one who has won at least one PBA regional title. Just one. That's it. It's the same guy who I bowled against on this very channel when I was in the Mega Bucks tournament way back in 2016. That's who I bowled against. Okay? Other than that, I haven't bowled with, that I know of anyone else who's at that level. Handicap leagues are for casuals by casuals. That's it. Which means if you have the highest average in that league, it means less than nothing. It means that you're the best among casuals. Like, well done. Well done. It's cool that you can do that, but it doesn't mean anything. Okay? So now, here's the steak and potatoes and the finale of this, because I have to get out of here. So, here's how to do this, okay, if you want to do this. Again, advantage bowling means 200 to 205 average. If you know you can average higher than that, but you don't want to because you bowl more handicap stuff than scratch stuff, or just as much handicap stuff as scratch stuff. If all you do is bowl scratch stuff, then don't worry about this. Then just bowl your scratch stuff. Or if you don't care about how much handicap you get, then do not worry about this. Okay? If you're confident enough that your 230, you can do whatever you need to do with your 230 average, then what are you watching this video for? Go do what you want to do with your 230 average. This is for those who want to make sure that they have some handicap when they go into handicap leagues and tournaments and stuff. Okay? And that's if they bowl outside stuff and everything like that. By the way, this will get adjusted down if you bowl in a sport league or tournament, okay? Which means you get even more. So anyways, there you go. Alright. The first thing you need to do, and this is how I discovered this, is to get on a team that doesn't really care about winning a lot too much in your league, okay? The first time I did this was the 13-14 season, where I was on a team that was sponsored, I had a bowling shirt and everything like that, and they didn't really care if they won a lot of money because most of it was sponsored anyways. They just wanted to, have my business on, they just wanted the name of their business on my back while I bowled. Perfectly fine, right? So they didn't care if I shot honor scores every night. So I would bowl in that league just for brackets. And if I shot real low in my first game and got KO'd, got knocked out of my brackets, got wiped, I didn't really care about shooting real high. So I would make mistakes intentionally. I wouldn't intentionally bowl really bad, like decisively bad. But if I had a chance for a 670, I'd be like, I'm just going to shoot a little 570. You know what I mean? That's fine. 3-game set, 570. So, get on a team that doesn't really care about winning. Get on a team that's part of that first category of bowlers who they just want to get out of the house and hang out and socialize. Okay? Even better. And this is, I definitely would suggest this to any bowler of any level, is to join a practice league that doesn't have a prize fund, that all you pay is the lineage, however you want to say that word. That's also ESP sanctioned, if you can do that, because then you can experiment. and you can still, if you know you can average 230, and you just average, and if you know you're that 200 or 202, 201, 205 is your experiment average, then there you go. Also, limit the equipment that you take to league. You know, only take 4 balls. 3 is ideal. You know, like that's what I do. I just take my spare ball and my my asymmetric solid ball that's not real aggressive, and my asymmetric solid ball that is kind of aggressive. And to be really honest, that's all you need on a house shot. A lot of people won't tell you that, because house shot is extremely scoreable. You don't need a whole bunch of equipment to figure out what the hell's all your motion in a house shot. Absolutely not. To succeed on a house shot, all you really need to do is just feed the ball at the track area. Easy money. Okay. So there you go. That's also a very good tip in general. Because if you take too much stuff to your leagues, you're just gonna start experimenting. You're gonna change balls every 3 frames, and that'll probably mess with you. I'm gonna make another video on that, about how your first goal should be to average 185 with just a spare ball. I mean it. Or with a spare ball and a reactive ball. That's it. Just 2 bowling balls. That's all. Preferably like a mid-range ball. Like, if they ever made a high road that was asymmetrical, I would get that and just have that in a spare ball and probably still average 205. Anyways, yeah. Know exactly what it takes to average 205, 200 to 205 in league week to week. Aim for those numbers. The example of this would be, let's say your league is 36 weeks, right? So that's 100 games you got to bowl. So what would a 205 average be across all 108 games? 22,140 for your total pinfall, okay? And then, you know, you can mess with those numbers, you know? So, okay, so 36 times or 108 times 200 is what? You know, and then you put down that number, and then you say, okay, I need to just have between this number and that number, and I have 200 to 205. And there you go. Also, very last thing, again, this is if you can average well above 200, but want to just stay around 205, 200. If you're going to do this, you need to make sure that you bowl your best periodically. This way you don't fall into bad habits, okay? That's what happened to me. Last year, actually. I got a little too crazy with what I was doing, and I accidentally averaged 195. So now I can't bowl in PBA stuff for a whole season until my average for this season's over 200. And that was because I was doing too much experimenting, you know what I mean? And I wanted some coaching too, that kind of stuff. This way I could actually cut and make and cash in scratch events, which I was pretty close to doing a couple years back. My second ever PBA regional, I was about 80 pins away from cashing. So that's 8 spares. And I missed about, it was 6 games because it was all in one day. 6 games I missed, I believe, 10 spares. Like, about 4 of them were pretty makeable, and only struck about 4 times a game. So, you know, give me 1 more strike a game, give me 1 less spare per game, all of a sudden I'm making match play pretty much. So, and I think it took a 196 average. Yeah, something like that. Like minus 20 was the money. No. Sorry. Minus 40. Minus 40 was the cut to cash. So, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, if you want to do this, you need to make sure you still bowl your best from time to time. This way you don't fall into bad habits. You could do that in practice. You could do that at places that don't track your average, like at a sweeper or something, you know, that kind of thing. So there you go. That is advantage bowling, everybody. hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the fact that you can still go to handicap events even though you're a scratch bowler. And there you go. So stay tuned for the next video in this series, which is going to be at least twice as long, because it's going to go through all the numbers that I can come up with to create a new industry standard, what I call, of handicaps. That's going to be enjoyable. That's going to ruffle a lot of feathers in the bowling community. I cannot wait to share it with all of you. All right. Thank you for watching, and take care, everybody.